What is up, Maniacs? I am Zach Barger, and I am the Millie Maker Maniac. Today we are doing a Best Ball Mania draft on Underdog. Looks like we are going to be pick number 7 in this draft. Um, Underdog is half point PPR, so definitely a little bit more touchdown dependent than over on DraftKings, where it's PPR. The roster setup on this is QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. This roster is only 18 players deep. In comparison, it's 20 players deep on DraftKings, so a little bit shorter roster. My preferred build tends to be 3-6-6-3. Occasionally, if I go elite tight end or elite quarterback, I'll go 2 at that position. So we'll just see how it plays out here. On the 7 pick, really would want to get McCaffrey or Jefferson here. Basically anybody at ADP below 7 here. I feel like that's the appropriate order. I like McCaffrey. I haven't taken as much Jefferson this year. I just think CeeDee Lamb is the better pick, and for a long time, Jefferson was going ahead of Lamb, so I just wasn't ever getting him. Starting to get a little bit more of him. He's definitely a guy I want to have. He's not going to be a high percentage guy for me. Yeah, it looks like Jefferson is our guy here. So that'll be fun to build this slide up. Yeah, I think Jefferson, definitely has the potential to be wide receiver 1. I think it's more likely for Jamar or CD to do it, but that doesn't mean he can't be 1. And he's definitely a guy that can go off any week, including in week 17 when they play the Lions. So we'll get those guys queued up. It would be my dream to get a Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown stack, but I think that's pretty much impossible, but would be really cool if we were able to pull it off somehow. So I'm just queuing up all of the Vikings. I'm also going to queue up all the Lions because they play each other in week 17. The reason I do this, I want to be able to see in the queue when I got guys coming up that could add to a stack or game correlation. I'm not going to just draft out of that queue. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense to take Jameson Williams here. I'm way too early. But I am willing to reach for stacks. I want to stack good teams that are likely to have big games in week 17 and in the playoffs that are going to allow you to get to week 17. So we got choice coming up here. Devon Achane has a calf injury. I'm kind of fading that. I got a little bit of him throughout the year. Brock Bowers is a guy that's a stud. I kind of like punting tight end or getting Kittle more, though. I have plenty of Bowers as of now. I'm going to take some Chase Brown. He's been rising up draft boards, and it's just it's looking like they're not going to reach a deal with Hendrickson, or it's a possibility they won't, but even if they do, that defense is going to suck again. But Burrow's going to try to put them on their back and take them to the promised land. So I can see just another huge year of that offense being incredible and having to do everything they can to keep them in games. So would love pieces of the Bengals. They play the Cardinals in week 17, which is going to be a very commonly stacked game. You can see that. The first pick obviously is Jamar Chase in most scenarios. And then you can see ADP for Higgins, McBride, Harrison. They're all right around that turn. So the first pick is taking Jamar, and then they're trying to get T or McBride or Harrison to try to get some of that game correlation. So it's going to be a very commonly stacked game. That being said, there is a really good chance that is the game that goes off. So I want to have pieces from that game. If T fell to us, we would definitely take T, but it's very unlikely that he gets all the way back to us. I'll take Joe in the 6 if he falls to us. Well, I have some correlation with Chase there. I would love to have, or with Chase Brown, would love to have T too in that, but I don't think that's how this board's going to play out, but we'll see. So right now we got stud at running back, stud at wide receiver, so balanced build so far. I'd be open to McBride if he fell here. Hampton is definitely somebody I want to add more of. I have roughly 4% Hampton right now in all of my drafts. So he's somebody that I would take here. I want to get a little bit more exposure to. I'd also consider Jackson Smith and Jigba here. He's a guy that I don't have a lot of, but it's Seattle situation is looking more promising, and I'm open to stacking that game. So Hampton went. So really, this comes down to McBride, or well, I guess it's not McBride. We could go Harrison here, but I'm gonna go Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like I said, I don't have a ton of him. I like the upside. Um, Man, I kind of want to go Mike Evans too, but we'll go with this. We'll go with this route. I have a lot of Mike Evans lineups, so let's change it up a little bit and go Seahawks. Um, I obviously can add Darnold very late in this. I have very, very little Darnold, but they look good in preseason. I think I might be a little too down on them, even if they finish as a top 20 offense. A lot of these guys would probably outproduce their ADP. So we'll see there. And they also have a really good matchup in week 17. They play the Panthers. Panthers were historically one of the worst defense of all time last year. They'll probably be better. But I doubt that they're going to be a great defense. So definitely a good matchup in week 17. So we'll roll with this. See how it plays out. I'd love to get Tedero McMillan there, but he's gone. I think the pick now is probably going to be Jameson Williams, which I love the JMO pick, just in general. He's a guy that can have massive games. He'll definitely have some duds, but he's going to have some big games. I think he'll be more involved this year too. There's other guys in this range I like, but for this build, we're playing as if Jefferson is the guy, and we're going to play it as if he's the guy in week 17. We need to. If that game goes off, we're going to want pieces from the Lions too. If it's a shootout, JMO's definitely a guy that in a shootout can go off. So in this game construction, we're talking about this scenario that we're putting out there that could happen. It would make sense if that Vikings Lions game is a shootout. We could see a scenario in which the two top scorers out of that game are Justin Jefferson and Jameson Williams. So that's definitely a possible outcome that we'll lean into. So 3 really solid receivers. We got a combination of like all these guys are going to be both, especially Jackson Smith and Jigba and Justin Jefferson are going to be high volume guys. J-Mo could have some weeks where he's not going to be high volume, but he can have big boom weeks. So we got a nice mix of guys there where you feel really solid about those 3 guys hitting your lineups most week. Chase Brown is going to be in an offense that scores a lot of points and get a lot of opportunity. So feel really good about the base of our team right now, and we already got some game correlation going too. So I like all of that. Be dope if Walker fell to us, but that would be a pretty big fall. So we'll see. We'll get here. I would probably go Chuba next. That would give us game correlation with Jackson Smith and Jigba. If Walker doesn't fall, which he didn't, he just was taken. So Chuba would be ideally who would get here. Another one that we could go if we don't get Chuba, I actually like Connor here. Get us correlation with Chase Brown. And then if Joe falls to the 6, we could take Joe there in the 6. Lots of times what you'll see with Burrow is we have an awareness of where Jamar Chase is in every draft, right? Like he is in, oh, there goes Hubbard. So there goes that option. So the first overall pick had Chase. So yeah, right here. So if he was going to take him, he would take him a 4-5 turn. Now it's got to go all the way back to him. So our next pick will actually be ahead of a guy that has Chase. So we can risk it and see if Burrow gets all the way back to us. So I like Burrow in the 6 because if he's not taking another 4-5 turn, he tends to fall because people don't want to take him on stack. Mm-hmm. I like where I'm at a receiver. I'm going to go running back here. We're going to go Connor. Obviously, he's getting older, but he was a stud last year. And if he's healthy, I think he's going to be one of the best values in drafts. If he's healthy year round, like he's a top 10 running back, that's uh, basically a certainty. And that the Cardinals offense is very concentrated between him and McBride, especially. With obviously people expect Harrison to step up a little bit, but beyond that, they don't really have weapons. So, um, yeah, I like the build there. So we could go Joe here. Obviously, you don't think of, if Joe falls, you don't think of going quarterback running back correlation. But what I found in my correlation charting actually is that 40% of the time when a quarterback is a top 5 quarterback during a week, they have a running back that is in the top 10 on their team. So there actually is quite a bit of correlation between running back and quarterback success. Would love to have a pass catcher, but we have some correlation there. So getting him at 66 feels like a pretty good value. There's really nobody else in here that I'm in love with. We could choose to go like Diggs or Golden and then go for a May or Love stack down the stretch. But I think if we go Burrow and then we go McCarthy, if we can get some more pieces out of the Vikings here, like those are two solid QBs, and we could consider adding a third maybe in Goff. Or actually what we're going to try to do, I'd rather actually wait for Darnold. I want to get a little piece of Darnold at the end. So yeah, that's my quarterback plan, is to take McCarthy down here. We'll try to get Addison with this next pick so we can get that ping pong effect with Jefferson and Addison. I love going wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 for really good teams, because what's likely to happen in the weeks that wide receiver 1s are going to hit the top 10 maybe 50% of the time, right? Like they're still wide receiver 1s, but they're not going to be a top 10 wide receiver every single week. And lots of times when there's down weeks, it's because they're pulling a lot of coverage, and that creates opportunities for wide receiver number 2. So lots of times when wide receiver 2 goes on their boom weeks, those are the weeks in which you can replace your studs. So you're still getting that boom player. Oh, there he went. So that dream is dead. But the point still remains. If you have that opportunity to get wide receiver 1 and 2, where one of those guys is a big time stud and they're on good offenses, it's a really great way to make it through the best ball season, because you're guaranteeing yourself a solid wide receiver pretty much every single week. And then you give yourself chances at those huge boom weeks when they both go off, when their pocket quarterback goes off. So game correlation wise, it would make sense to take Montgomery here. Another thing we could actually consider too is reaching down for Hawkinson a little bit. Let's see, we're at pick 79. We'll come back around at 90. So it's unlikely that Hawkinson would fall. We got running backs in this range you can go, but I rather would have Hawkinson because we're planning on getting McCarthy later. So we're just going to go with that. Montgomery would have been the other guy I would have taken, so he did not fall. So Hawkinson it is. So we got Joe with Chase Brown, not the wish we had the other Chase, but we don't. But then we have Jefferson and Hawkinson, and we're going to try to tie him in with McCarthy here later on. So like how that's falling. I'd like to get Charbonnet too. They're just going to run the ball a lot in Seattle. And I don't really have a lot of lineups where it's Seattle is going to be the team, just because I think that's very unlikely, but it's looking more and more promising. Like when we talk about Darnold, let's scroll down here and look at Darnold last year. 320 points through 35 touchdowns. Saying somebody does the same thing they did the year before isn't a crazy scenario. Obviously, he doesn't have Justin Jefferson anymore, so it's a little bit different, but he does have a budding superstar in Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's got Kupp there. I think Kupp's pretty washed, but who says that Darnold's not good? Like, he showed that he can be a very serviceable, like very good quarterback last year. Everybody's just kind of writing him off like it was all just Kevin O'Connell that did all of that for him, but he went out there and played. So I think it's kind of unreasonable to say that it's impossible for him to go back out and ball again. So that's kind of what I'm thinking build wise. We're going to work towards getting McCarthy. It's too early to take McCarthy here. Let's see. So we could take Cup. If we go, we have pick 90 here, and the next pick will be 3. Okay, I'm going to try to get Charbonnet there. I'm going to go ahead and take Josh Downs here. I think he's just a good player. He can be my wide receiver 4. I think it's a good thing, actually, for him that Daniel Jones is going to be the starter. I think he's going to get more. Not that Daniel Jones is a world beater, but I think he's more accurate than Richardson is. And a lot of the fantasy points when Richardson is in the offense go through him, like go through his rushing ability. So, yeah, I like the idea of getting pieces. Like, I think Downs, I think there are a lot of talented pieces there. Downs, Pittman, Tyler Warren, and Jonathan Taylor. Like all their values, I think, go up. They're going to be more relied upon now with Daniel Jones as a starter. So I know Downs is dealing with the hamstring injury, but it's early in the year. I'm not too worried about that. Like even if he doesn't play the first couple of weeks, he's going to have solid production throughout the year, and he will hit my lineup multiple times. He's like a good person to ping pong with Williams here. They're both guys that can have big weeks and duds. So hopefully they don't have duds the same week. Charbonnet went there. Bummer. I was hoping he would fall down, but he didn't. So not going to get as much of a Seattle stack as I was kind of hoping for, which is a weird thing to say. That's not something I've been trying to pursue all best ball season, but that's okay. We'll get a little piece of it here. Maybe I'll go Cup. I have I think I have 0% Cup, like maybe 2 or 3 lineups out of 400. So, maybe this is where I go Cup, mix it up a little bit. Nobody really jumping off the page right now that I need in this range. I like ETN. I think he has the potential to be a guy, but I like where my running backs are at. We can chase running back more down the stretch. Yeah, I'll throw a dart at Cup, and then I'll get Torrey Horton late as well. Obviously, a lot invested in the Seattle passing game, which is not highly advised, but it will be a unique lineup. In these big tournaments like this, you have to have some uniqueness, and I don't think like stacks for good teams are going to be very common. Man, Cup went 2 picks before us. Okay, all right. Well, I guess we'll go ETN here, and then we'll get on the next pick. We'll get McCarthy. Didn't play out exactly how we wanted to. That's okay. But what I was trying to get to there is there's going to be plenty of stacks for solid teams, right? So you're trying to really find different combinations. And ways that you can differentiate yourself are maybe go off some stacks that are lesser owned. So that's what I had in my thought process for the Seattle stack. But it appears that I'm not the only one that's kind of seeing a little bit of buzz after their preseason performance. And their guys are actually getting pulled up a little bit from their ADPs. But we can still grab Darnold late. We'll get McCarthy here with our next pick to make sure that we don't miss that. That'll be nice to have a stack with Jefferson and Hawkinson. That's, roughly 60% of their passing game. Feel pretty good about having 60% of the fantasy points out of the passing game for Minnesota. %60 is probably a little heavy, but yeah, so we're 40-50% between those two of targets. So we'll take McCarthy here. That'll look real nice with Burrow and McCarthy. Okay, so we got 2 QBs, like the stacking of it, a little bit of game correlation. Only have 4 receivers. Generally speaking, I like to have more here. We'll definitely probably tack on Torrey Horton late, and probably one of the Carolina guys, maybe even real late. We can go Coker. We could also add a guy like Tesla that would give us game correlation. He's down here as well. We can also get Yosevas or who's the bust from last year, Burton, out of Cincinnati as well, to try to get a little correlation with Joe beyond just the running back. Definitely want to try to get Gesicki to have some sort of correlation with Joe, get a better stack there. So normally I don't like chasing wide receiver, and we don't have to chase too hard because we have 3 really solid guys, really 4 solid guys up top. So we can feel confident that, a combination of 3 of those guys will hit our lineup most weeks. And we have 2 with the potential of 3 solid running backs. So we have flexibility on people that can hit our flex, whether it's a wide receiver or a running back. So far, a pretty solid balanced build. So ADP wise, next we would have on ours, we're not going to take Young. I'm kind of done with Leggett and Thielen too, actually. So I'm more like interested in Coker late if we're gonna try to get another Panther in here. So in this range, a lot of dead zone running backs and QB really. Yeah, I mean, Robinson's falling like crazy because of the trade. Mixon, we don't know if he's even going to play. He does play, though. It's like you don't feel like they have anybody else there. I think I'm going to take Joe here. It's a chance that he doesn't play all year, and this is a wasted pick. There's also a chance that he comes back and, even if it's for like a 6 or 7 week span, he's a top 10 running back during that time frame. That can have huge value for us. Again, he could be a 0 all year long, but if he does get back on the field, there's nothing indicating so far that he won't play this year. And as long as he gets on the field, I just don't see how he doesn't instantly give volume once he gets back on the field. Like Nick Chubb is way past his prime. Nothing special is coming out about him being back in camp or anything along those lines. So I think he's just going to be a plotter. He's just going to eat up touches. He's not going to have negative plays because he's a smart player, but he's not going to, I could see, 3.5 yards a carry with no real explosive plays, like big plays for him or like 6-yard runs, things along those lines. So that's not a guy that's going to get a lot of fantasy points, and also not like what an offense is looking for necessarily. So I think as soon as Joe came back, like he would be the guy. So we don't have anybody else queued up that we need to pick here. Could go Tootin. Gives us 2 shots there. I'm going to go Braylon Allen, though. Let's make sure I'm not missing anybody else. Yeah, Braylon Allen just seems like he's getting all the short yardage stuff, going to get all the goal line stuff. I could see Breece Hall getting traded at some point in the year. So, yeah, there's just a lot of upside there. And he's very young, kind of offsets our Joe Mixon, old. And we have a couple old guys on the team, so get a young guy in there. Yeah, I feel really solid about that room. We're a little light on receiver, but we can. I think we'll definitely try to get Torrey Horton. We'll try to get Coker late. We might add Tesla, get up to 7 there. Might just go Gesicki and Hawkinson. So let's look at this. We got we're around 13. So we're going to want 1 more quarterback with Darnold's. We're going to want 3 more receivers. So Horton, Tesla, Coker sound nice. Tight end. 1 more tight end, Gesicki. And then we could just get a running back wherever. So I might just go as this is played out right here to finish it out. Obviously, I'm pulling some guys up. I feel pretty good about this room. Dowdle's a guy that haven't been taking much of, but it gives us a little bit of that correlation there against Seattle. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with this plan. We're gonna pull guys up from where their ADP is. Obviously, we're reaching a little bit on some of these guys. Hopefully we can, so we get 177, but it allows us to get all of them together. And so that stack is more powerful. Like we're throwing dart throws here throughout. So now I'm giving myself, percentages, chunks of teams, and giving myself a better chance at one of those guys blowing up, or even if they have that random game, it's likely to go along with other guys at the same time. So if that random game is week 17, I have a combination of players that a lot of other people don't, that gives me a better shot at having the ability to win that 2 million, having uniqueness, but thought out uniqueness, like thinking through possibilities that are legitimate possibilities, but maybe not the most likely, but something that could happen. So I doubt that many people are stacking that Carolina and Seahawks game. It's definitely not going to be the most popular game, but it is definitely a game that could be a shootout. Yeah, I like how this is falling. This is going to be fun. So, do have a little bit of a buy issue here. Right now, we don't. We only have 2 guys that will be playing on week 8, but we'll get Coker will be our third, so we'll be a little light on week 8. That's a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. I think that's not going to prevent us from getting to the playoffs, and as long as we get to the playoffs, we're giving ourselves a really nice combination of players that could go off in week 17. We're getting a percentage of games that I think can be, could be high scoring games. I don't think anybody would say that it's unlikely that Vikings and Lions game has a lot of points in it. Like that's definitely a game that could become a shootout. With Carolina's defense and the improvement of Bryce Young, that Seahawks-Carolina game could definitely go off. I really do think that the Jags are going to be a much better team this year, and they play the Colts in week 17, so we got a combination there. And then obviously we have a few pieces from Cincinnati, and we know Cincinnati is going to be a powerful offense as long as Joe is healthy. If Joe isn't healthy, this lineup has no chance anyway, so we're betting on Joe having another big year. Yeah, so really like how this is falling right now. I'd like to just finish out the team with these 4. That would be a nice run out. Yeah, I really like how this is played out here. So I want to make, as long as Darnold gets here to us, if we don't get, like it's not the end of the world if we don't get any of these last 3 guys, but Darnold would really be a nice addition to this roster. So really hoping that he gets here. You got Tua out there too, so he's more likely to go ahead of Darnold. This guy does need a quarterback though, so let's see what he does. All right, we survived. Never thought I'd be hoping for Sam Darnold to fall to me, but that's what happened. So I got a fire alarm. Well, I guess I'll be signing off. But you got a pretty good idea what we're doing here. I'll hop back on and show the finish when it's all said and done. All right, we're back. Fire alarm was just a drill. Great timing. But we are back. So far it's fallen how we wanted it to fall. I was able to add Tesla there to get some correlation against the Vikings there. So we got JMO and Tesla there at the in that Vikings game. So we've got 3 Vikings with McCarthy, Jefferson, and Hawkinson, and we got 2 Lions, T-Slaw and Williams, in a shootout. I think those guys are all definitely people that could score touchdowns in a shootout. And then we got the Seahawks stack with Njigba, Horton, and our boy Darnold. And then we got a little bit of Bengals stack with Burrow, Brown, and Gesicki. And then we got a little game stack with ETN and Josh Downs with the Jags and Colts there. And then we just kind of took some shots at running back. Feel pretty good at that. We do also have game correlation with Carolina with Dowdle and Coker. Well, we're going to try to have it here with Coker if he falls one more spot. We got it. Perfect. So we have really nice game correlation, some solid stacks with our quarterbacks. This is a really, really clean build. Obviously, if you have Burrow, would prefer to have Higgins and Jamar. Like if Burrow's the guy you need to have in week 17, that's the more likely scenario. But there's scenarios in which Chase Brown has a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and Gesicki has 2 receiving touchdowns. Like that's not insane to think if something could happen. So, Burrow can still go off and we have a shot at it. And we also have a game correlation with Connor too, which I like there. McCarthy, if Justin Jefferson is going to be wide receiver 1 this year, which is how we're drafting this lineup to be, I think that's a pretty good indication that McCarthy has a good year and that he would hit our lineup multiple times. And Darnold is basically free. We were able to stack him with what sounds like it's going to be his top 2 weapons with Horton and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So if he overperforms expectations, which there's a really good possibility of that. I mean, he threw 35 touchdowns last year, had 320 fantasy points. Like he just did that, and we're pretending like just because of his surroundings was the only reason he was able to put that together. Like his surroundings definitely impacted that, but he played well. And I think he's likely going to want to go out and prove that he is a really good NFL quarterback. So we'll see if he's able to do that. If he is able to do that, this could be a lineup that has success and could turn that $25 into $2 million. All right, my friends, thanks for watching. Catch me on the next draft. Appreciate it, Maniacs.